Hi, welcome to FilmSauce. I'm FilmSauce, and in this Saucy video we're looking at Ghostbusters, released in 1984. Directed by Ivan Reitman, and written by Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Ivan Reitman, and Rick Moranis, Ghostbusters is a story about the ghost ops busting some ghosts. Throughout this film I'll also reward on a gate source points, and at the end of this video I'll tally them up to see how saucy this movie truly is. But now, let's watch this spooktacular film. The film starts off with a creepy, ghostly music over a library in New York, brilliantly played by the New York Public Library. Anyway, inside we meet some old librarian doing her job and going into the basement to place some books. Well, we see some books float around, but the woman doesn't notice any supernatural occurrences until papers start flying out of the drawers. Afraid, the woman runs around the library right into an off-screen purple light. We're now thrusted into an iconic logo title card, backed up by an even more iconic music track. And just for the music alone, plus 1 source point. Now we meet up with one of the main characters, Peter Venkman, played brilliantly by Bill Murray, who is doing a test on some hopefully of age kids, as he shocks a guy and tries to get in the pants of some girl. But this session is interrupted by Ray, played by one of the many screenwriters, Dan Aykroyd, who's all hyped up about a ghost sighting at the New York Public Library, informing Venkman how their other scientist friend, and one of the other screenwriters, Egon, played by the late Harold Ramis, rest in peace, is also there. Venkman immediately makes a scene, and they interview the witness from the start of the film to make sure she isn't some schizophrenic drug abuser or currently menstruating. The trio walk on down to the basement where they find some spooky stuff like book stacking, ooze, the paper mess, and a ghost. I don't know though, the woman just might be schizophrenic. The trio now meet the floating purple librarian ghost, who shushes Venkman after he tries to make contact. But Ray has a brilliant idea.
Ready? Get her!
The trio charge at her until she changes form into a pretty spooky beast, scaring the ghost investigators to escape the library. While walking back to the university, Egon figures there is a way he can trap some ghosts. For this discovery, Egon is rewarded and fired. The trio are kicked off campus for their questionable methods, but everything's okay because Ray took a mortgage on his parents' house, and with this new money, the trio look for a good base of operations, where they look at a broken down fire station, where Egon thinks this place should be condemned, but Ray likes the pole, so they'll buy it. Now we meet one of the biggest stars of this film, Sigourney Weaver as Dana. We watch Dana go up to her apartment after some grocery shopping. Dana, traversing her apartment building hallway, bumps into Lewis, played by Rick Moranis, and who would have guessed, but he was one of the screenwriters. Dana avoids Lewis, entering her own apartment, where she has to turn off her TV to stop seeing a ridiculous ad advertising some Ghostbusters. Dana is putting away her groceries when suddenly her eggs start cooking themselves in the egg carton, freaking Dana out because who wouldn't be afraid of cooking eggs? But suddenly, in her fridge, Dana hears a lion-type growl, and when she opens the fridge, she is greeted with another world, with a pyramid and otherworldly critters, with a light bulb in its mouth, yelling Zool. Back with the Ghostbusters, they are fixing up the station and a new car, and meet the new secretary, Janine, who seems pretty fresh, talking to Egon about spores, molds, and fungus. Dana now walks into the station, and Venkman, hyped up for a customer, takes her in, where they conduct tests, while she explains her story. The Ghostbusters now start researching. Ray will research the building's history, Egon will look up the word Zool, while Venkman goes to Dana's apartment to check her out. At the apartment, Venkman patrols around with some strange contraption, where the two kind of flirt until they enter the kitchen of the cooked eggs. But man, I would love to eat those Stay Puft Marshmallows. Now Venkman checks the fridge, amazed by all the junk food. So either Dana has a monster in the apartment, or she is crazy. Now it's night time, and the trio are eating some yummy Chinese food when Janine finally gets a call. And hooray, because
We got one!
the trio now run around getting ready to bust some ghosts. Hopping in the Fix Ecto one, driving down to some hotel. They meet up with one of the staff who tells them the ghost is on the 12th floor. And after some funnies with roaches and blowing a woman up, they are finally ready. Talking about funnies, obviously comedy is objective, but I find this film hilarious. And it's, well, my show, so +2 source points. So the gang splits up and Ray immediately finds the ghost, as the ghost Slimer eats some food. Now Slimer is an icon of the films, such a lovable little booger who was in fact modelled after the late John Belushi, so +1 source point. Ray now fires at Slimer, who flies away through a wall to meet with Venkman. In a funny scene where Slimer attacks Venkman, Ray, hearing the commotion, runs down to find Venkman's slimed up body. Slimer has now been spotted in the ballroom, where the three go to catch it, but they all have horrible aim, so it escapes. Now Egon tells the others something he probably should have said before, but better late than never. Anyway, Egon tells the other two that they should never cross the streams, or all life stops simultaneously. The trio trash up the ballroom and place a trap where they trap the slime ball and glitch the staff about catching the ghost, and they demand the high pay of 5,000 dough. Now in a montage we watch the guys bust some ghosts and get insanely famous. Clearly Dana is beginning to be a bit fond of the Ghostbusters, while Ray gets a bit fond of a ghost. Now we finally meet the fourth Ghostbuster, Winston, played by Ernie Hudson, and I just feel bad for this guy. He's just so overshadowed by the other Busters, and has a lot of his actions and lines given away to the other characters, and the script was changed from him to join later in the film, so -1 source point. Anyway, Winston is hired after one look from Ray. Now Dana meets up with Venkman, who she clearly admires now. So you guys just become famous. Anyway, about the case, Venkman informs Dana they found the name Zool, who is a demigod and a minion of Gozer. Dana wants answers and Venkman basically sets up a date to explain this. Now we chill with the other Busters, explaining where they put the ghosts after trapping them. But now the big guns show up called the EPA. To talk for the EPA is Walter Peck, played by the designated arsewipe, William Atherton. And now that basically the whole cast is revealed, I'm going to add 2 source points for the incredible casting and how well the actors do. Walter now interrogates Venkman, especially about the storage facility where they put the ghosts, seen before. Walter now threatens a court order, and Venkman basically says, "Whoa, that's not fresh, but do it so I can sue you back." Anyway, in Dana's apartment we see some gargoyles break open, revealing a beast lurking inside. And now we actually see Dana walking down the hallway, once again bumping into Lois, who is throwing a party, inviting her in. But Dana has a date tonight, clearly to the disappointment of Lois. Dana kind of just chills around talking to her mum, but there is a spooky light in her apartment, and spooky hands that grab her. The door opens, revealing the monster, dragging her inside the room with her. Now we are with Lois, who is kind of just partying, but who brought the dog? Never mind, it's another monster that chases Lois and scares a granny. Lois runs around Central Park away from the dog to a restaurant where he won't be let in, so he is eaten. Venkman now enters the now more destroyed apartment building for his date, where he meets up with Dana, asking for the keymaster. And Venkman says yes, so he walks in. Dana tells Venkman how she is Zool, who seemingly has possessed Dana, but she wants to get it hot and heavy, but Venkman, being somewhat respectful, doesn't go ahead with it. Zool is just being creepy while Venkman is hitting the jokes, which just leads to Zool floating and giving Venkman a little scare. Now we meet up with Lewis again, who is possessed by the Keymaster. The Keymaster is picked up by the boys in blue, who drag him to Egon, who does some tests, and investigates the Keymaster, who yaps. Venkman now calls up Egon and talks about the possessed, agreeing for Venkman to leave Zool and go back to home base. Now we are with Winston and Ray, who talk about some Bible stuff. I don't know, I'm not really religious. But they come to the idea that Judgment Day is coming. And now we're back with Peck, who's at the Ghostbusters office again with some court papers, demanding for all machines to be turned off, much to the dislike of the Busters. But it is indeed shut off, and the building explodes, releasing all previously caught ghosts. In the chaos, the Keymaster waddles away and the Busters are arrested, while ghost schools and everything in between run amok. In jail, the Busters talk about the building of Dana's apartment tower and how it is an antenna or a door to the other world. But hey, the Busters get a meeting with the mayor, and during that, the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper finally meet up at Spook Central. And hey, Lewis finally got the girl, and now they ascend to the roof. At the meeting with the mayor, we see Walter Beck get called Dickless, and he whines a bit, but he can't do anything because the Busters convince the mayor to go on their side. Now backed by the military and the police, the Ghostbusters drive on down to Spook Central, where the crowd chants for the Ghostbusters while they gear up. But a spook happens with an earthquake shattering the roads, killing the Ghostbusters. Never mind. The Busters, after a long walk up the staircase to Dana's floor, finally reach the climax, where they see Dana and Lewis turn into some dogs. The dogs run up the stairs to the pyramid previously seen in the fridge, while the doors open to reveal Gozer, played by the woman from the hit movie Tapehead. Ray makes first contact, but Gozer asks if Ray is a god, which he obviously isn't, so he says no. So Gozer kind of force lightnings them. The Busters now stand up and strike the prehistoric bitch, but she disappears, now talking from the clouds. Gozer kindly asks the Ghostbusters to choose a destructor, so simply they don't think of anything. But Gozer says the choice was made. So who chose it? Ray. Now across the city, they see the Destructor. The Marshmallow Man, happy as ever, destroys the city around him, including the church, and to protect Jesus, the Busters fire at the Marshmallow Man, who is now on fire, burning the whole side of Spook Central as he climbs up. Egon figures out a way to save the world, though. Cross the streams, and maybe there is a slight chance they'll survive. The four all fire at the pyramid and cross the streams, much to the horror of the Marshmallow Man. The pyramid blows up, taking Stay Puft down the tower. There is movement, and who would have thought, but all the Busters are alive. But that doesn't ring true for Dana and Lewis, with the dogs returning to gargoyle form, killing them. Never mind, the two are alive, and, well, this climax was epic, and the Stay Puft Marshmallow is a pure icon, so +3 source points. Now the Ghostbusters theme plays as the Busters and two recently possessed enjoy some glory over the credits, and that ends this epic film. That was Ghostbusters, a great film full of funnies and ghosts, and loved by all. But was it loved at all by the source points? Ghostbusters gained a total of 9 source points, but there was indeed some toilet water, as 1 point was negated, ending this film with 8 source points. And that was FilmSauce Ghostbusters. And if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and liking. Maybe even toss a comment. And maybe I'll see you again. Goodbye.